We've talked about taking private health insurance away from union members in the industrial Midwest. We've talked about decriminalizing the border, and we've talked about giving free health care to undocumented workers when so many Americans are struggling to pay for their health care. I, quite frankly, don't think that that is an agenda that we can move forward on and win.
And if there was just one soundbite you'd take away from last night's Democratic debate that spoke to the concerns the party may be moving too far to the left to beat Donald Trump next year, that bite from Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan may have hit it on the head. As you know, it was a constant theme last night. The best pushback came from Elizabeth Warren as she took on John Delaney.
You know, I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
Still, that split amongst Democrats, it is the big theme that people are talking about today. Now, among them, Democratic strategist Max Burns. He is solidly in the progressive camp, and earlier, Andrew spoke with him about that and much more.
Max, we just watched some clips from the debate last night, and a lot of people noting the intra-party divisions we saw on the stage last night. But before the debate, DNC Chair Tom Perez tried to put it all in a wider perspective, telling the audience how unified the party is and how ready they are to take on Donald Trump. But Max, I didn't see a unified Democratic Party last night, nor a party ready to take on Trump. Did you?
What I saw last night was a party that's having a substantive discussion about health care, about immigration, something that we've put off to appease moderates and Republicans, and we're finally getting to where the base is and having these conversations that, quite frankly, we should have been having 5 or 10 years ago.
There also seems like there's something of a division within the party when it comes to personality and optics. The progressives on stage last night, Warren and Sanders, made better TV, but the moderates may actually hold positions that are more in line with the bulk of the party. Is this a performance split or is this a policy split?
If the moderates and people like John Delaney are in line with the party, their polling certainly doesn't show it. The collected moderates on the stage last night all have less than Elizabeth Warren's polling combined. But no, I think it's much more than just a performance. This is a real conversation that motivates people, and we are well aware of the fact that we have sacrificed the health care of millions to appease moderates. We've sacrificed on gun safety to appease moderates. We've sacrificed on immigration to appease moderates, and it's gotten us roughly nowhere as a country.
You sound like somebody who's convinced that the nominee for the Democratic Party should not be a moderate. Is that where we are? Is that what you're seeing so far in the primary process?
That's what the numbers certainly show so far with Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who have all really taken command not only of the stage, but of the issues that we're talking about as a party. And that's not because no one is interested in hearing about it. For all we hear that Democrats need to moderate and go to the center, we're hearing this from people like Maureen Dowd and Jason Chaffetz and Republicans who are going to call us socialists if we're anything to the left of a Republican. So it's time, I think, the Democratic Party listens to its base.
You talked about some of the conversation about health care. So much of the debate and the division on stage last night was focused on health care policy. You and I know that the differences between the candidates on health care, that there's a lot more in common than there is distance between them. One of the big differences is about whether private insurance should be allowed to continue, but everybody seems to want universal coverage. Everybody wants it less expensive. How much of a problem is it for the party if all the focus is on that division when they're actually closer to each other than people might think?
And I think you hit it right on the head, is that what we're probably going to come out with here is some form of a Medicare for all option with private insurers able to compete. I think that Bernie Sanders, though he has proposed a really aggressive single-payer universal plan, that's going to be serving more as a framework for a much more practicable solution, similar to what probably Senator Kamala Harris came out with this week. But it does move us significantly forward from where we left off with the Affordable Care Act.
In the postgame of the debate, a lot of experts are crunching the numbers and saying, well, the numbers for Warren and Sanders on health care just doesn't add up. And it's not the only policy area where there are questions about how you pay for it. I'm wondering, is that a question that these candidates need to have answered at this point, or can they keep going sort of without specifics for a little while?
They do, and to a large extent they have. Bernie Sanders has been very clear that He would raise taxes on the middle class that would end up saving money because it'd be lowering the cost they're paying for care. And this is one of the talking points that I just can't understand from Republicans, from the debate moderators last night, is if you're paying $5 extra in taxes to save $15 that you're spending on care, you're saving $10. Talking about it as a tax hike is straight out of the GOP playbook. We should be talking about how we're going to save Americans money.
You talked about the way the debate was run last night. CNN seemed to want conflict and confrontation. That means honing in on the divisions within the party. But every TV network wants conflict and confrontation. Do candidates have to do a better job of saying, well, we're closer on our positions than we are with Donald Trump, and here's the contrast there? Is this just going to be a format that always plays to division as opposed to unity?
That's absolutely right. It's certainly not helped with 10 people on stage, but there is a desire to sort of create these fights that don't really exist. And Elizabeth Warren put forward a very clear message last night that we are not the ones that want to take away health care. That's Republicans, and we need to stop allowing people in the press to create these false divisions that amplify the differences when really we're very aligned as a party on getting the best health care for the most amount of people possible.
And finally, Max, Biden is the center position tonight, flanked by Harris and by Booker. They're getting all the attention. What brief bit of advice would you give to all three of those candidates?
Biden is, of course, the front runner right now. Whether that's a firm front runner, we just don't know. He said that he may not be as nice in the debate tonight. I would actually caution against that. What we saw last night was heated, but it was on policy. We were discussing how to actually implement things. That's what people want to hear. They don't want to see Kamala Harris or Joe Biden attacking each other on personal things or name calling. We get more than enough of that from the president.
Democratic strategist Max Burns. Max, thanks for the analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll be right back to wrap things up.